Yo, Big C in the house. You know the name. Finn Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Marino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squad the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Finn Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Finn Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it aqua tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, your check as I'm chess. What's happening next, yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson, he got a new engine from pain, it's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression, You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they scheming.
What up, Finn fans? Welcome to another episode of the Finn Posse Podcast. I'm your host, Big C, and this is brought to you by Game Changers Media. How's everyone doing this wonderful Monday morning? Whew, what a weekend of playoff football. Yesterday, Saturday, some very good games. It's too bad them Buffalo Bills escaped by the hair on their chins. I would have liked to have seen the Jacksonville Jaguars pull out that victory. I felt like they looked like they were the better team, the better all-around team. They just couldn't finish it off. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills playoff experience definitely came into the fold late in that game and was able to propel them to the victory. So they move on. The New England Patriots move on in a game that was, everybody want to say how the mistake the Miami Dolphins made taking Tua Tagovailoa instead of Justin Herbert. But realistically, what has Justin Herbert done in this league that has been meaningful, right? What has Justin Herbert done? Is he the bigger, sexier piece to the better quarterback prospect? Does he got more arm talent? Does he got more physical ability? Absolutely. But in reality, this guy has done nothing more than what Tua has. A no-show in the playoffs yet again. He just is. I don't know. I don't see Justin Herbert as an elite quarterback. But you got the Chicago Bears beating the Green Bay Packers. That has a little to do with us, I guess, because Matt LaFleur was supposed to be a head coaching option, possibly for the Miami Dolphins. But from what I'm hearing, he's going to re-up with the Green Bay Packers, so he's not going anywhere. They do have Jeff Hafley, the defensive coordinator for the Packers. He's still an option for the Miami Dolphins at the head coaching position. But yeah, obviously, I hope that you've seen the thumbnail for today's video. And, I'm probably going to take some backlash for this, and I want to discuss it a little bit. And that's the beauty of having a podcast. My opinion might not be your opinion. Your opinion might not be mine. But we can discuss it, and you can tell me your feelings. I'll tell you my feelings. And we can have a friendly, fun discussion. But did the Miami Dolphins F up with this whole coaching vacancy situation? Did the Miami Dolphins mess up? I feel more and more every day that the Miami Dolphins made a massive mistake. And I just, over the last 4 years of what Mike McDaniel's done with the Miami Dolphins, with all the injuries, with the subpar quarterback play, with, just the things that he's had to deal with here in Miami, I think Mike McDaniel did a pretty good job. Now, does Mike McDaniel have his issues as head coach? Absolutely. Absolutely. He struggles with making adjustments at times. The team coming out flat after halftime, that's a big issue this year. We were outscored a crazy amount in the third quarter this year. Like I said, time management has been an issue. Moving away from the run has been an issue. He's had his issues here in Miami, 100%. 100%. But Mike McDaniel is a brilliant offensive coach. He is a brilliant offensive coach. The schemes, he changed the NFL. If you look around the NFL and look around the league now, there's so many more of those pre-snap motions going on, trying to get your receivers up to full speed by the time the play snapped. What he did with a sixth offensive lineman this year, because we had a struggling offensive line, we had a subpar offensive line, to bring in that sixth offensive line and get this running game going. Absolutely beautiful. And I just don't see anybody that is available that it made sense to move on from Mike McDaniel and Mike McDaniel's potential. Because I'm sorry to say this. John Harbaugh is not coming to the Miami Dolphins. John Harbaugh is not coming to the Miami Dolphins. I wish he was. And I can understand moving on from Mike McDaniel for John Harbaugh. I could understand that. I could get on board with that. I could get on board with the Dolphins moving on from Mike McDaniel for John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, you have to put him in the upper echelon of head coaches in NFL history. I mean, I don't think he's a top 10 guy, but definitely one of the better coaches in NFL history. I don't think you put him up there with Shula, Landry, the greatest coaches of all time, but it's definitely one of the better coaches of this era. So I understand if you move on from Mike McDaniel, if John Harbaugh's a sure thing. And I thought personally, I'm not going to tell you what you thought, but I thought personally when John Harbaugh got fired and then the Miami Dolphins decided to move on from Mike McDaniel the next day, after hearing Mike McDaniel was going to be safe, we all heard that Mike McDaniel was going to be safe. Monday came, Tuesday came, safe. Everything led us to believe that Mike McDaniel was going to be here for another year. And then John Harbaugh gets fired and the Miami Dolphins fire Mike McDaniel. So the writing's on the wall, right? The writing's on the wall. The Miami Dolphins are going to do everything and anything to go and get John Harbaugh. We obviously know that Stephen Ross has a long history, a long relationship with Jim Harbaugh, the Harbaugh family. So why wouldn't the Miami Dolphins fans believe that they'd have a good opportunity to bring John Harbaugh to the Miami Dolphins? But then the Miami Dolphins do a head scratching move. Obviously, the correct answer, if you want John Harbaugh to come to the Miami Dolphins, was to hire Chad Alexander as your next general manager. The Miami Dolphins do not do that. They go and they hire John Eric Sullivan, Green Bay Packers assistant. So that's strike one. Strike one against the Miami Dolphins right there. You did not bring John Harbaugh's dude to the Miami Dolphins as general manager. That was key for John Harbaugh to consider the Miami Dolphins, because the Miami Dolphins have a lot of asterisks next to their name why you wouldn't want to take that coaching position at this current moment. Sully has slight ties with the Harbaughs, but not what Chad Alexander does. And then if you look at the other things that are lined up against the Miami Dolphins, you look at John Harbaugh's wish list, because he kind of put a wish list out there. He wants a GM that he's comfortable working with. He wants a good quarterback situation. He wants a good salary cap situation. The Miami Dolphins don't have those. The quarterback situation is a disaster right now. The salary cap situation is a disaster right now. The strength of the roster is, who knows what this roster is going to look like at the beginning of next year. Harbaugh is not on our table, dude. I said that. That's what this video is about, pretty much. You know what I mean? That the Miami Dolphins mess up letting go McDaniel, because realistically, they're not getting Harbaugh. And that's how I feel, is that, let me hear the list of names and you tell me which one just takes you over the top, that you have so much more faith in that guy than Mike McDaniel. Okay. Okay, Marby, my bad. I'd be glancing up, reading them real quick. You know what I mean? He didn't say anything about salary. That's not what I heard. He said something about salary cap too. He don't want to go to a team that he can't add no pieces because their salary cap strapped. Nobody knows what Harbaugh is going to do. Let Aikman cook, and he chooses another team. Oh, well, there's other good candidates. I'm not going to count Harbaugh out, though. What other candidates? What candidate just blows your mind? Chris Shula, obviously his grandfather was the great Don Shula. I think he's a nice option. He's a nice option. But is he a game changer at the defensive coordinator position? Do you think he's going to be a game changer as a head coach? I don't know. He's one of the few candidates that I'm not completely against. But if you look at the list of candidates, there's not too many that I'm choosing over Mike McDaniel. Miller says, so do you want Harbaugh at all costs? Sullivan is a lifelong talent evaluator. Can't say much to Alexander, but a lifelong talent evaluator with the Green Bay Packers, the only position he's ever held. The only position the Green Bay Packers he's ever held was with the Green Bay Packers. Let's look at the list of candidates. Clint Kubiak, Seattle's offensive coordinator. He had an interview with the Dolphins January 10th. Listen, I'm not against Clint Kubiak, but again, when you talk about offensive coordinators coming in for interviews for the Miami Dolphins, do I think any of these guys have the innovation that a Mike McDaniel does? I don't know. If I had a choice over Clint Kubiak and Mike McDaniel as my offensive coordinator, I'm taking Mike McDaniel. And you can see the rest of the league. Mike McDaniel has 6 or 7 interviews lined up between head coach and offensive coordinator. Teams rave about Mike McDaniel's offensive prowess. Another name, Robert Saleh. Are we serious right now? Are we really considering Robert Saleh as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins? Is that what we're really doing right now? Robert Saleh. We fired Mike McDaniel for a chance at having Robert Saleh as our head coach. Kevin Stefanski. Yes, he won 2-time coach of the year with the Cleveland Browns, but he spent 6 years in Cleveland and did little to nothing. Yes, you have Chris Shula, Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator of the Packers. Would I rather have Jeff Hafley or would I rather have Mike McDaniel? Jags defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli. That's another name that I have interest in, that I wouldn't be like, oh my God, we got Jeff Campanelli. But as for me, I do not think that anybody on this list is worth giving up on Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's had his shoulders pinned against the wall since day one coming to the Miami Dolphins. And I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy, but he's been handcuffed. First and foremost, Mike McDaniel had one opening opportunity for a head coaching job, and it was here in Miami. That was the only interview he had for a head coaching job, was the Miami Dolphins. So, of course, I can fix Tua Tagovailoa. I can fix Tua. He was brought in to work with Tua Tagovailoa, and I think that he grossly he improved Tua leaps and bounds. Tua was leaps and bounds better after Mike McDaniel got here. Finn's effed up by not getting Alexander as GM. I agree. I think that was the first step in kicking ourselves in our own ass. If you want John Harbaugh, you go and get the most John Harbaugh friendly GM available, and that's Chad Alexander. I don't care what other ties general managers might have with John Harbaugh. Nobody has ties with John Harbaugh like Chad Alexander. But, Mike McDaniel was handcuffed since getting here. You first off, you had a terrible GM. Chris Grier was terrible. Chris Grier was just ridiculous. All these first-round draft picks that were projects. If you're a first-round draft pick, you shouldn't be a project. You shouldn't be a project. You should be a player that can come in and help this team win immediately, not a project. We shouldn't be talking about potential with a first-round draft pick. We should be talking about impact on the field year one. Impact on the field year one. Miller says Stefanski, LaFleur. LaFleur's going to re-sign with the Packers, I'm hearing. McCarthy, I have no interest in Mike McCarthy. Gruden, I would have some interest in Gruden, but it's not going to happen. Saleh and Hafley top my list. Why? Robert Saleh, he was a disaster with the Jets. A disaster. Yes, he's been good defensively for the 49ers, but look at the talent that's been on the 49ers defense. Ron Rivera, Mike McCarthy. No, I just don't. It's not for me, brother. It's not for me. These are older guys that, yeah, will those guys probably get you to the playoffs? Maybe so. But those aren't championship caliber coaches. They're on the last legs of their career, in my opinion. Mike McDaniel's still a young coach that's going to get better. Mike McDaniel's going to get better. And if you're going to move on from Mike McDaniel, it should be for one of the top coaches in the league, an Andy Reid, a John Harbaugh, a Jim Harbaugh, a Mike McVay. One of those coaches. Not for Robert Saleh. Not for Robert Saleh. We're moving on from Mike McDaniel for Robert Saleh, or we're moving on from Mike McDaniel for some of these other unknown possibilities. Jeff Hafley, Chris Shula. You know what I mean? Like, Clint Kubiak. Going with a young head coach they're going to suffer through a lot of the same things that Mike McDaniel did. And Mike McDaniel wasn't, I feel like Mike McDaniel was improving. But shit, like, give Mike McDaniel a real quarterback back there. Let Mike McDaniel. Can you imagine if Mike McDaniel goes to the Detroit Lions as their offensive coordinator? Could you imagine if he goes and works with Lamar Jackson? I just think Mike McDaniel has such great possibilities ahead of him, and these other guys, they just don't do it for me. And I think even if you're not on board with having Mike McDaniel as the head coach long term for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins after this year would look so much better to head coaching candidates as far as job consideration goes just after this year. If John Harbaugh doesn't choose the Miami Dolphins, it's because of how the roster's set up. It's because we don't have any salary cap. It's because we're paying Tua $55 million. It's because we have no quarterback. But after 2026 season, the Miami Dolphins won't have Tua. They won't have that big contract. They'll have a bunch of salary cap coming up. They'll have another top draft pick. They'll be one of the more attractive teams for head coaching candidates. And shoot, we've been talking about Mike Tomlin, the Pittsburgh Steelers moving on from Mike Tomlin. I think there's a good chance if Mike Tomlin's not available this year, then Mike Tomlin becomes available next year. So maybe you miss out on John Harbaugh, but you didn't realistically give yourself a real shot at getting him. You didn't give yourself a real shot at getting John Harbaugh this year. In the little shot that you did have, you decided to go and hire John Eric Sullivan. And I'm not saying that John Eric Sullivan's going to be a bad GM. He just wasn't the right GM to bring in if you wanted John Harbaugh as your head coach. Good morning, JD. I'm not saying that John Eric Sullivan's going to be a bad general manager. I'm saying he's the wrong general manager if you wanted John Harbaugh as your head coach. Miller, we're not getting Mike Tomlin, though. This job is not appealing to head coaching candidates. There's nothing about this job that's enticing to these head coaching candidates. Tennessee's more appealing. Atlanta's more appealing. The Giants are more appealing. All these teams are more appealing than the Miami Dolphins. Why would Mike Tomlin come to the Miami Dolphins? If the Dolphins knew that John Harbaugh didn't want to come here. They should have kept Mike McDaniel, in my humble opinion, because no one on this list has more potential, in my opinion, than Mike McDaniel. And I know Mike McDaniel had his issues. I know he did. But Mike McDaniel, at times during his coaching tenure with the Miami Dolphins, he gave me great hope. I had faith that Mike McDaniel could come up with schemes to beat the opposing team's defense. At times I wasn't sure if we had the right talent to beat the opposition's defense. But I truly believe that Mike McDaniel was a brilliant offensive schemer. I really do. That's not what Bradshaw said yesterday. About what? Man, if Mike Tomlin comes to Miami, the whole Tunsil family will be elated because he is Tunsil family member. Oh, why? What's Tunsil got to do with the Dolphins? Mike McCarthy just doesn't do it for me. He's an older coach. Yeah, he has a Super Bowl win with the Packers back a long time ago with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. We are in a total rebuild mode. Finding a quarterback is priority. We may get lucky and draft one in 27, or it may take years to find one. Any old coach would not like that scenario. JD, do you believe it's a good place for a head coach? Listen, I heard what Bradshaw said. He said because of the weather, and he said because of taxes. It had nothing to do with this football team. He said because of weather and because of taxes. It's not because this football team is one of the better options to go to. Okay, Mike Tomlin is Tunsil's cousin, but Laramie Tunsil doesn't play for the Miami Dolphins. So, I mean, I don't know why Tunsil, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I can't go forward with off hope, faith, and potential. Mike wasn't the guy. His record here was 35-33. He had an injury-prone quarterback. How many of those games did Tua Tagovailoa miss? And then you take into the account how many games was Tua absolutely horrible this year. The Miami Dolphins, listen, I believe the Miami Dolphins should have kept Mike McDaniel if John Harbaugh wasn't an option. If John Harbaugh wasn't an option, the Miami Dolphins should have kept. If he wasn't 100, if you didn't get in contact with John Harbaugh and be like, hey, is there a real shot that John Harbaugh can come to the Miami Dolphins? Does our team interest him? And if you didn't get confirmation from John Gruden's camp that he was interested in the Dolphins coaching position, you do not let Mike McDaniel out the door. Mike McDaniel has potential. Give him a competent quarterback. Give him a quarterback that isn't limited. Now, I was a fan of Tua Tagovailoa. I liked Tua's game up until this year. Up until this year where Tua lost all arm strength, couldn't make any of the plays he was making in prior years. I was a Tua fan. But that does not mean that Tua wasn't limited. That means Tua couldn't take a hit. Tua couldn't run the ball. Tua was limited. Give Mike McDaniel a quarterback that's not limited. Mike McDaniel was responsible for one of the most explosive offenses that I've ever seen with a limited quarterback. This year, running the football, we were phenomenal with a subpar offensive line. But this is the schemes that when Mike McDaniel was drawing up. This was his intellect to put a sixth offensive lineman in the game. I just think Mike McDaniel had, if you're telling me Mike McDaniel or Robert Saleh, we're really considering Robert Saleh over Mike McDaniel. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? We've seen that Mike McDaniel is a playoff caliber head coach. We don't know what Chris Shula is going to be. We don't know what Jeff Hafley is going to be. We don't know what Anthony Campanelli is going to be. We know that Mike McDaniel is a playoff caliber head coach. We know that, they talk about culture change, and maybe the culture does need to be changed here to a point, but the culture I think has gotten better. We got some bad heads out the room. Jalen Ramsey, we got him out the door. The fact that this team did not quit on Mike McDaniel, and a lot of teams would have quit. A lot of teams would have quit on their head coach starting off the season the way this Miami Dolphins team started, and they didn't. They didn't. They kept fighting for Mike McDaniel. They kept fighting for him. Again, Mike McDaniel proved, in 4 years, we went to the playoffs twice. We missed the playoffs by a game last year and 2 games this year. But last year, how many games did Tua miss? How many games did Tua miss? And then you take into account how bad Tua was this year. I think that proves that Mike McDaniel's a playoff head coach. And let's be real, we were so limited with the offensive skill players that we have this year. Jalen Waddle's our number one receiver. Behind Jalen Waddle, what do you got? What do you really got? What do you got? Darren Waller was nice, but he was only here for a cup of coffee. Half our offensive line was gone yet again. I just think that, given the current circumstances, we're not in an attractive position. We're not an attractive place for a coaching candidate. We're not. We're strapped for salary cap space. We got a quarterback on our roster right now, do $55 million that we don't know what we're going to do with. Behind him, we don't. Who's our quarterback? Quinn Ewers. Quinn looked okay in a couple of meaningless games at the end of the season. Is he the future of the Miami Dolphins? I hope so. I hope so, because that'd be huge for the Miami Dolphins. But do I believe so? I doubt it. I doubt it. As far as the rest of the talent on this team, we have some talent, but most of the talent that we have on this team is due for new contracts. Game-changing players, who do we got? We got Achan. But who else is a game changer? Who else is a game changer on this football team? And I'm sorry to say this, and I hate to see it, but at the same time, it's what the Dolphins get. If Mike McDaniel is given a real opportunity with a real football team that gives him the pieces and gives him a legit quarterback, Mike McDaniel is going to do special things. If you give Mike McDaniel the Baltimore Ravens are going to be a Super Bowl caliber team. They're going to be fighting for a Super Bowl. With Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and the speed options that they have at receiver, Mike McDaniel he'll make a nasty offense for them Ravens. And they got pieces on the defensive side of the ball. They got pieces. That's why it doesn't make, unless you were getting John Harbaugh, it didn't make sense to move off McDaniel this year. It makes way more sense to move off from next year. We're going to settle this year. We're going to settle for a head coaching candidate. Next year, whoever becomes available, we would have probably we'd be the top destination next year. We could have our pick of head coaches next year. But this year, we're going to settle for a head coach. You shouldn't have moved off from Mike this year. It should have been next year. If you were going to move off from Mike, it should have been next year. Unless John Harbaugh said, I want to be a Miami Dolphin. Because there are so many better options than the Miami Dolphins right now as far as coaching opportunities are concerned. People aren't worried about taxes, and they're not worried about the weather. They're worried about getting a new contract, lasting the length of their contract, not getting fired. You think the first-time head coaches on this list care about the weather and taxes? No, they care about longevity. They care about getting to their second contract. Robert Saleh, you think he cares about the weather? No, he cares about not getting fired again. Kevin Stefanski cares about not getting fired again. He wants to go to the position that best puts him in the best position to succeed. And do you got some coaches on this list that will love to come to Miami? Absolutely. That's because they don't have very many options. They're like a Mike McDaniel. It's either take this job right now or maybe never get an opportunity to coach in the NFL. You may never get an opportunity to coach in the NFL again, so you're going to take whatever opportunity is available. And that's why Mike McDaniel took the Dolphins job in the first place. Oh, they're offering me the job? I may never get this opportunity again. Yeah, hell yeah, I'll take it. Hell yeah, I can do it. Hell yeah, I'm eager. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's freaking do it. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe, comment, share. Listen, I liked Mike McDaniel. Did he drive me crazy sometimes? Yes. His press conferences drove me crazy. His time management lots of times drove me crazy. But those are things that I think he could continue to get better at. But as far as his schemes, you can't teach that. You can't teach it. You can't teach it. He's a master. He's got a masterful mind of the offensive side of the ball. And you just can't teach that. And it shows that so many teams are interested in him as offensive coordinator. People are biting at the bit to get at him. People love this guy and what he's been able to do. The NFL copycatted his shit. Offenses tried to copy what Mike McDaniel was doing. And he's going to learn. Trust me, he's going to learn. And his next opportunity as a head coach, he's going to be better. And Mike McDaniel's going to be one of the better head coaches in the National Football League. And, you know, in a certain amount of time, we're going to be kicking ourselves in the ass that we did not keep him. Again, if we could get John Harbaugh, I get moving on from him. But other than that, none of the names on the list that are head coaching candidates for the Miami Dolphins were worth moving on from Mike McDaniel, in my opinion. That's just my humble opinion. None of them are Super Bowl winning head coaches, in my opinion. I don't see Kevin Stefanski. I don't see it. Robert Saleh, don't see it. Clint Kubiak, you know. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Whoever the Miami Dolphins decide to bring in as their next head coach, I'm going to cheer for. I'm going to hope for. I'm going to pray for. And hopefully I'm wrong. But I just, I think we moved a year too soon as far as moving on from Mike McDaniel. Next year, we would have been in a much better place. The salary cap would have been fixed. Tua would have been out the door. We would have just been in a better place. We would have been in a better situation. It would have been a more attractive job. So what do you guys think? Hit that like button for me. Subscribe, comment, share. Who's your favorite? Who do you want to see as the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins? Who do you guys want to see? Who do you want to see? Are you cool with Robert Saleh? Do you think he was just shit on because of the Jets? You think he just got a raw deal because of the Jets? You want a first-time head coach like Jeff Hafferly, Chris Shula, Clint Kubiak. You want a first-time head coach. You want a veteran head coach like a Kevin Stefanski, a Mike McCarthy. But I truly believe John Harbaugh he's not taking this Dolphins job. He's not. I wish he was. But I just don't believe he will. There's better options. That Giants job is a better option. Atlanta, I think, is a better option. Tennessee, I think he likes Tennessee. If he likes Cam Ward, you know what I mean? They're a young team. Who else is available? The Raiders possibly. He should be able to draft his quarterback of the future. Salary cap wise, they got a bunch of room. You got Tom Brady in the front office. I'm not getting any more comments. I don't know why they're not coming through on my screen. Hold on. We will get another head coach from the bottom of the barrel. Don't worry, Big C. Friday morning, it'll be posting my video of Harbaugh as the new head coach. Ken, I hope you're right. I hope you're right, brother. I hope the Miami Dolphins do get John Harbaugh. If we get John Harbaugh, I'm cool with moving on from Mike McDaniel. Like I said, John Harbaugh is deserving of the job over on Mike McDaniel. But as far as any of these other guys, I don't know. It don't make sense. Mike didn't draft him, but was a big supporter of paying the man. That should be held against it. Listen, I understand that he didn't know Tua was going to hurt his arm later in the year. If Tua was the Tua of 2024 or 2023 this year for the Miami Dolphins, we make the playoffs. We make the playoffs this year. If Tua wasn't so horrible, we would have made the playoffs this year. I know one thing: Tua is not our quarterback. Yeah, that's for damn sure. Time to move on from Tua, and I think the franchise as a whole understands that. Big C, I don't think we dropped the ball. So, which one of those coaches are you satisfied bringing in that you feel confident being the future head coach for the future? So, I think you're going to have to settle this year, and then all the head coaches that all the people that become available next year. All the people that become available next year. Let's say Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs miss the playoffs again. Maybe Andy Reid becomes available. Maybe Mike Tomlin's available next year. Maybe teams are finally on board with giving John Gruden another shot. All those coaches are available next year, and the Dolphins have hired Clint Kubiak, and he's only in the second year, so they're not going to move on from him. But all those guys are available next year. Only the real survive. I'll do it tomorrow. We'll get you on tomorrow. I'm about to wrap up here in a minute. Not Saleh. He let Aaron Rodgers come in there and run things. No thanks. I agree. Robert Saleh should not even be getting interviewed. Mike McCarthy, for what? What has Mike McCarthy done? For what? We didn't drop the ball. We eliminated the ball in game. We cooked. Because he understands the philosophy of how Green Bay built their roster. The Green Bay Packers have been successful for the last 2 decades because they got the quarterback position right. Because they got you had Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, and now Jordan Love. But if you go back and look at their rosters, yeah, they won a Super Bowl. They did. And they've been competitive. They've been good. But Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre were just 2 of the greatest quarterbacks this league has ever seen in a weak division. Look how bad the Lions were for so many years. Look how bad the Vikings were for so many years. Look how bad the Bears have been. It was a bad conference, a bad league, bad division. There's just nobody on this list other than John Harbaugh that makes sense to me to go out and get rid of Mike McDaniel. Nobody on the list. There's nobody on the list to me was worth moving off Mike McDaniel, and that's probably my biggest issue. Which one of these guys are a clear upgrade? Miller, go be a Patriots fan then, brother. Go be a Patriots fan then. You be liking the tug their meat strap a little bit too much. Who brags about how good the Patriots are doing? Come on now. But which one of these guys is such a massive upgrade over Mike McDaniel that you're risk the next 3 to 4 years? This is a 3 or 4 year decision we're making. This is going to tie us down to this guy probably for the next 2, 3 years, 4 years. Because we hired Sullivan, if you wanted John Harbaugh, the right answer was Chad Alexander. And I'm not even saying that Harbaugh signed with the Giants. I'm just saying out of the 8 openings that there are in the NFL for a head coaching position, the Miami Dolphins are 7th or 8th on that list. Why does John Harbaugh choose the Dolphins? Who cares, Miller? Who cares what the Patriots are doing? Who cares? The Patriots barely beat a beat-up Chargers team. The Patriots struggled in that football game yesterday. The Patriots have beat two teams with winning records all year long. The Patriots are lucky that they played the Chargers. If they would have played the Jags yesterday, they would have lost. Jacksonville looked like a legit team yesterday. Legit team. Parker Washington, the receiver Jacksonville got, he's a dog. He's a dog. I like him. I like that kid. Parker Washington for the Jacksonville Jaguars is a dog. That kid has got potential. They got so many receiving weapons over there in Jacksonville. No wonder Trevor Lawrence had a career resurgence this year. They got so many talented players in their number one draft pick. Didn't even play. Travis Hunter didn't even play yesterday. They got so many talented pieces over there. Jags are a good team. Jags are a good football team. Shit, y'all doing better than my Saints. Listen, I Benny drilled. Listen, you might have your quarterback of the future, brother. You might have your quarterback of the future. Sirianni, I can't take it. And what a franchise anyway. What a franchise anyway. Nick Sirianni, I hate the guy. I can't. Nick Sirianni is probably my least favorite head coach in the NFL. But how dare you fire that guy after he won you a Super Bowl last year and you're going to fire him this year? How dare them? How dare the Eagles? How dare the Eagles? That's absolutely atrocious. And no, I do not want Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni, again, I'm saying, how dare you fire him? But Nick Sirianni had one of the best rosters in all of football, possibly the best roster in all of football. And you're eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. No, thank you. No, thank you. But again, it makes no sense that the Miami Dolphins moved on from Mike McDaniel if there's not a clear upgrade. It don't matter. They won a Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl just last year. Yeah, I know he was I know he was a receiver. Yeah, I know. We're going to talk about this more. I think they should have stuck with Mike. I agree. Unless there's a clear upgrade, and to me, there's not a clear upgrade. You name the clear upgrade. Who's the clear upgrade? Who's the clear upgrade? John Harbaugh, I'll give you him. Other than that, you got some unproven guys. Kevin Stefanski, Robert Saleh, Mike McCarthy. I don't know. Pete State, Tua ain't going anywhere. He's our precious backup quarterbacks. What up, Pete? I don't believe that. I think they got to figure out a way for Tua to get out the door. I think they got to figure out a way to get Tua out of here. I wish they'd give Gruden a shot. I really do. And that's their opinions. In your opinion, there isn't an upgrade. For a lot of other fans, there are better upgrades out there. Okay, you're right. And that's cool. And I respect everybody's opinion. If you think that there is so many better options than Mike McDaniel, I feel you, and I understand, and I get what you're saying. But for me, I think the Miami Dolphins would have been better off unless they got confirmation from John Harbaugh that he was willing to come to the Miami Dolphins. They would have been in a much better position to have a head coaching vacancy next year. You have no Tua Tagovailoa. You have no You're not over the salary cap. You'll have another high draft pick, probably. You'll have a much better quarterback class where that coach can go out and get their quarterback of the future. What's the worst we could do? Suck again? Yeah, but we can suck for multiple more years. Because if we hire a head coach, chances are he's going to be here for at least 3 years. He's going to be here for at least 3 years. I don't believe that John Harbaugh and Mr. Ross are compatible. I mean, they might not be. They might not be. But hey, we'll talk more about it tomorrow. Obviously, we got a lot of time. Maybe news breaks that the dominoes will start to fall. Obviously, John Harbaugh is probably going to be the big egg to fall first, because John Harbaugh is going to have his choice. He's going to get the pick. And those teams that are on John Harbaugh's list, they're going to wait and see who John Harbaugh picks. And then it's going to be a domino effect. So we're probably not going to hear who the Miami Dolphins head coach is going to be for probably a few days, I would say, maybe a week, just because unless we take a random guy that doesn't have a lot of offers, maybe we hear sooner than that, but it's going to be a domino effect. John Harbaugh is probably going to be the first ace off the board, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll talk to you more later about it. You can keep going in the comments. You tell me who your top 5 candidates are for the head coaching position of the Miami Dolphins. But until then, I'll see y'all later. And you know what it is. Fins up. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share. And I appreciate you. We'll do an open mic take tomorrow. Y'all can come on and talk and give your 2 cents. But until then, fins up and peace.
Yo. Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami heat blazing. We scorching the floor. You know the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it aqua tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.